So you know how the 95th Academy Awards were last week? I was going to have a video on the day of the award show talking about like the six, like at the time, the six non Disney or Pixar movies to have won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. But because I was so busy with college stuff, I could never find time. I wasn't able to find time before to actually film stuff. So the only time I actually could was like when I got home a little bit early for spring break. So I thought, okay, I'll just do it here. I'll have it recorded and edit it and then have it out like on the day of the Oscars, but like before the ceremony. But the thing is, I couldn't find time to edit it. Everything was filmed, but I couldn't find time to edit it. And then in the award show, they announced that the newest animated movie to have won like Best Animated Feature was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is awesome. I love that movie. But then I realized, oh man, that makes my video outdated because I kept going, oh, here are the only six. So instead of like getting rid of it all and just getting rid of the video in general or refilming everything, I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna add this little thing in the opening saying, I'm good. What you're about to hear in the video was said before the actual before the actual award show. So if you kept hearing like, oh hey, these are the only six, well, it was because that was at the time those were the only six, but now it's seven. So yeah, this is that, and then at the end I'll put in like a new thing talking about the newest movie, Pinocchio. So yeah, I really hope you enjoy the video. Also, there's a part in the video where I talk about like the only animated movies that have been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, and I say there are only two, that being Beauty and the Beast and Up. I was wrong. There's actually a third one, Toy Story 3. I forgot that one was nominated for Best Picture as well. So yeah. I just want to add that in here to fix that little mistake. So yeah, enjoy the video. The 2023 Oscars are upon us. Later tonight, we're going to be getting the 95th Annual Academy Awards. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I'm tired. The point is, that's happening tonight, and I don't know if I'm actually going to watch it. I haven't watched the Oscars live in years. I used to back in middle school when I was getting really into film, but then over time, I just like stopped caring. I just found the award shows boring, and like I don't know. I was just more interested in learning about who won and seeing all the speeches afterwards. I was like, I'll just look up who did. I don't need to watch that 3-hour long, garbage fire. And apparently like last year's was like so bad, and like I heard a bunch of stuff about it. I kind of wish I did watch it live. So honestly, that's why I'm kind of considering maybe I will this year, just as a hope. Hopefully, just a hope. If it's either good or at the very least just as bad as that, maybe worse. I don't know. The point is, like, I haven't watched the Oscars live in years, and the thing about the Oscars is, I think a lot of us know this, but they're full of crap. They have like no respect for movies, and like I could give a lot of examples why, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I want to talk about one specific medium that they obviously have shown they have like zero respect for in the past few years, and that is animation. There was a short time where animated movies were actually treated with some respect at the Oscars. Like, I want to say between Ratatouille and Toy Story 3, where the Oscars not just gave a lot of animated movies the nomination for Best Animated Feature, but also other stuff that are truly worthy of, like Best Screenplay, Best Original Score, even Best Picture for Up. It would be great if other really good animated movies that came out afterwards that were totally worthy of Best Picture also got, nominated for that. But we know they're never going to do that again because the Oscars are scared to nominate, like, animated movies Best Picture. That's only happened twice, I think. Like, that's a one thing. The point is, it was some sort of respect. And granted, it did happen to mostly Pixar movies, but it was when Pixar was kind of at its best. Like, it was at its peak with these kind of movies, But regardless, it was some sort of respect. But that's changed over time. So, and now the Oscar for Best Animated Feature is like the best an animated movie can do. Like, sometimes they can get nomination for Best Original Song if they're a musical, but for the most part, it's the best they could do is Best Animated Feature. And even then, like, some people already see that as just like a consolation prize for animated movies. And to some extent that is true, but at least it's some sort of acknowledgement. But then you realize, oh wait, this has also kind of become the just give it to Disney or Pixar award, because like it's been proven that like the people who like nominate these movies and like choose who wins don't even watch all of them, and sometimes just even choose whatever their kids like. So that explains a lot, honestly. Don't get me wrong, there were so many years where I think Disney or Pixar was truly deserving of the award when they won it, but there are also some years where I just feel like the competition was much stronger. Like the year Big Hero 6 won. Like I remember I really liked Big Hero 6 when I first watched it, and back then I probably would have said it was like, yeah, it was probably the best animated movie I've seen that year. But then as time went on, I kind of realized the competition was so much stronger. You had How to Train Your Dragon 2, The Tale Cinderella Princess Kaguya, and if you want to look at movies that weren't even nominated that year, you have the Lego Movie, which is a really phenomenal movie. I think any of those movies, honestly, would have been like so worthy of the award, but it went to Big Hero 6, which, like I said, I think is a good movie, but like, the competition is just so much stronger, and a lot of the times it just feels like that. It's like, it just feels like they just give it to Disney or Pixar because, like, you know, they just don't want to give it to like any of the competition, maybe because they just didn't even watch it. Like I said, Lego Movie was not even nominated. However, there was some times where a non-Disney or Pixar movie has won the award for Best Animated Feature. 6 times that's happened, and I just want to look over why these specific movies won. Were they really the best of that year, that they triumphed whatever Disney or Pixar made, or was the competition from Disney and Pixar just not that great? Or yeah, I just want to talk about that because I think that'd be neat. And also, I don't want to do like a thing just going over every movie that's won Best Animated Feature because that's a lot, and I just have to talk about 6. So let's just talk about that. I'm not gonna go super in depth with them. These aren't gonna be like full-on retrospectives on each of the movies. I just want to talk about, hey, what I liked about them and whether or not I feel like they should have won in the years they did. And yeah, that's what this is. So the first movie to ever win the award for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards was Shrek. Yeah, they implemented the award for that movie. Like, I believe like Jeffrey Katzenberg and the DreamWorks people wanted this to be nominated for Best Picture, but you know the Oscars, they weren't gonna do that. They hate it. They don't love the idea of an animated movie being nominated for Best Picture. I think that's only happened twice with Beauty and the Beast and Up. And so they were like, no, we can do a new award, the Best Animated Feature. And yeah, we can complain about that a little bit, but at least it was, I don't know, something specifically made for animation at the Oscars, so that's somewhat neat. And for the first movie to ever win the award, I think Shrek's a pretty good choice. The other 2 movies that were nominated were Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius and Monsters, Inc. Shrek is a really good movie. It's a classic. A lot of us grew up with Shrek and we still love it to this day. And when it came out, it was a big hit for DreamWorks. It turned into like their biggest face, like their biggest name franchise. And it led to a bunch of more movies and specials. And it even changed the way like other people want to make animated movies. And that could be like for the worst in some cases, but that's a conversation for another day. The point is, Shrek left a big impact. And does the first movie still hold up? Honestly, yes. When it came out, it definitely gave off the vibe of like, oh yeah, we're not your grandma's animated movie. We're different. We take jabs at Disney. We got some more raunchier humor. We're not like all the other animated movies. But thankfully, the movie still holds up because I feel like it's more than just that attitude. It genuinely has a really good story of like Shrek trying to learn to open up to people, and he becomes like friends with Donkey. He falls in love with Fiona, and he learns that just because he's a big smelly ogre doesn't mean he still can't be happy and have people in his life, and that is good. And of course, a really good soundtrack. All Star is in there. I love All Star. I remember I hated it for a little bit because everyone was singing it in middle school, but thankfully that stopped. I'm not in middle school anymore, so I could like go back to liking the song. The point is, it's good. My only complaint is that I feel like the third act misunderstanding thing that they do with Shrek and Fiona is kind of lame. I'm not really a fan of that kind of trope, but I can forgive it because the rest of the movie is still really good. Shrek is a really good movie, and while I don't even think it's the best Shrek movie, because I think Shrek 2 and Shrek Forever After are better, and if we're including the spin-offs, the recent Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is so amazing. Shrek now is like the 4th best Shrek movie if we're ranking them, but it's still a really, really good movie, and it led off to a really good franchise with one really bad movie in there, that being Shrek the Third. We just forget that exists. But yeah, for the first movie to win this award, I think Shrek was a good choice. I do think Monsters, Inc. is a better movie, but I guess like maybe the mindset at the time was just like, hey, Shrek was like nothing we'd ever seen before. It was very different than every other anime movie at the time, so let's give it to that because it's so interesting and new. And so I guess with that mindset, I guess that's not too bad. So yeah, Shrek, solid choice. Okay, so the next movie we're talking about, it was the movie that won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature the year after Shrek won. And okay, look, I thought about ranking these movies, thinking like, yeah, that could probably be neat, but then I thought, no, there's not really, I don't really need to do that. I'll just talk about them, in release order, chronologically. But then after I decided that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to talk about a freaking masterpiece immediately as the second movie. So all right, the next movie that won Best Animated Feature, that was not Disney, obviously, was Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli. The other movies that were nominated were Ice Age, Lilo and Stitch, Spirit, Stallion of Chimeron, I think that's how you say it, and Treasure Planet. Spirited Away is an absolute work of art. I think this movie is art. It legit is art, and I love every aspect of it. Like, when I was first getting into Ghibli movies, the first movie I watched was Kiki's Delivery Service, and I thought, oh my god, what a lovely movie. This was so good. And then I watched My Neighbor Totoro, and I thought, oh, that was so cute and charming. And then the third movie I watched was Spirited Away, and then I thought, oh my god, this is really, really good. And then later, it just kind of stuck with me in my mind, and I was like, you know, I think I'll rewatch that. And then I did. And I rewatched it, and then I rewatched it, and not in a row, I should say. This is like over the span of a week, but still, I watched this movie like 4 times in 1 week because it just kept sticking with me. I was like, oh my god, I legit love this movie, and I was trying to figure out what it is I really love about it. And like, it's still even a little bit hard for me to explain now, but I think I just don't know what else to say. It just is a work of art. Like, I love the story. It definitely gives off the vibe of like a kind of like Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz-esque story about this girl traveling into like this weird world with all these strange creatures, and she has to encounter stuff and then like grow and learn. And just seeing Chihiro's journey in this is so good. It's so powerful. Like, you see her start off as this like weak, like not very confident, scared little girl, basically a loser. And then like you see, and then over time you see her like gradually become like more confident and like being able to like charge into situations, just, you know, and like help others with like no hesitation. And it just feels so natural. It's like it's just so good, and like I love it so much. And like you see her, like, I just like love the encounters and like interactions she has with the other characters, like No Face or the one lady with the other workers. I'm sorry if I can't forget, if I can't remember her name. I'm like thinking off the top of my head. I should have scripted this. Oh my god, I'm not doing this justice. The point is, her, or like Haku, obviously, like her interactions with Haku were great. I just like love it so much. Like, the interactions in this movie are so good. And like, I love the music. Oh my god, the music is so good in this. Like, oh, it is truly beautiful. And you know what else is beautiful? The visuals of it all. Like, I love the designs of every strange creature that she encounters in this like weird world, this like bathhouse that she works at for a bit. Like, just the artistry of it all looks amazing. Like, every frame of this movie is a work of art, including the ones with the disgusting pigs. Fun fact, my sister also loves this movie, but she can't actually eat while watching it because it makes her want to throw up when she sees those pigs. Alright, okay, we're going back. Everything about this movie is truly a work of art, and it is easily my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, which is like, I know, kind of an easy answer to give, like, oh yeah, my favorite one's Spirited Away, but because it just is such an amazing movie. It's an amazing work of art, and I just love it so much. So looking at everything that was nominated that year, yeah, Spirited Away, easy choice to give it the award to. It's just like, yeah, I 100% agree with this. Spirited Away is, again, it's a work of art. So after Spirited Away won, the next few years, they would be a little while before we got another non-Disney or Pixar, animated feature winner, but not too long. The next 2 movies that won were Finding Nemo and then later on The Incredibles. But I don't really mind this because Finding Nemo and The Incredibles are great. I love those movies, man. So yeah, they totally deserve to win. But after The Incredibles, the following year we got Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. That movie won. The other movies that were nominated were Corpse Bride and Howl's Moving Castle. I haven't actually seen Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit for a long time. I think I watched it once as a kid, like on Cartoon Network, thinking it was pretty good. So I was really excited to rewatch it for this video, and I had a great time, honestly, man. Like, I thought this movie was so much fun. Like, Wallace and Gromit, I like them a lot in a lot of things they're in. Aardman is, of course, really charming in a lot of things. So this was just like a charming, fun watch. Like, I love the stop motion animation of it. It's so expressive, and I love a lot of the character designs. The comedy is really good. There are some really solid jokes in there. I love the villain, Victor Quartermain, and his like fake hair. It's just like great. And then later when he becomes like kind of like insane and crazy, it's also really fun to watch. He's just great. And of course, Wallace and Gromit themselves are really charming. I love that duo. And like, I really love like okay, so this movie's supposed to be sort of like an homage to like old horror like monster movies, and like I think it does a pretty good job going into that like kind of vibe of it. Like, it's not scary, it focuses more on like comedy, obviously, but like it definitely does a good job of kind of paying homages. Like, just the way it's shot, it's just like really good. I love the way this movie is shot. And the music also really good, and yeah, I just honestly don't know what to say. Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit is just a really charming, really fun movie. And out of all the nominations for its respective year, yeah, I say Wallace and Gromit was the clear choice for the, the best animated feature that year. So yeah, I agree with it. Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit, really fun. So the next movie that won the year after Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were Rabbit would be Happy Feet, and the other movies that were nominated were Cars and Monster House. Happy Feet is a movie I've already done a video on, so if you want my more in-depth thoughts with that, I highly recommend you check that out. But if you have seen that video, you might remember me saying something along the lines of, oh, I was watching this movie because I had this idea for a video that I want to do, but I probably won't do it until like next year. This is that video that I was talking about, yeah. So I guess I'll just like summarize some of the things that I said in that one. But again, if you want my more in-depth thoughts with this Happy Feet, if you want my more in-depth thoughts with it, I highly recommend you watch that one. I'm really proud of how that one turned out. But anyway, Happy Feet is a bonkers movie. It has a lot of ideas that I don't really think work all that well together. Like, it tries to be like a jukebox musical, but at the same time, an environmentalist drama. It has Hugh Jackman doing an Elvis impression in there. That was kind of funny. I forgot to mention that in the video. And it's just got a bunch of crazy stuff in there. And yeah, I don't even know if I'd call it a good movie. There's some stuff in it that I like, but overall, I don't really think it's all that good. But it's at least interesting. Like in the beginning, I wasn't really feeling it, but as it went on, it became more and more crazy. I was like, okay, wow. I was like, I was just like, I want to see how bonkers this movie gets. And I guess like it worked out. They won an award for it. But like, yeah, this is a truly bonkers movie. And what's even more bonkers is that it's directed by the guy who would direct Mad Max Fury Road later on. So there is that. Wow. So yeah, Happy Feet is it's just bonkers. I don't know how else to say it. It is a bonkers movie, and because of that, I kind of recommend watching it just to see how bonkers it really can get. But when talking about like the fact that it won the award for best animated feature, like I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of like maybe it's like a similar mentality they had like with Shrek, where like I said before, maybe they were thinking like, oh, this is something new compared to like everything else, so let's give it the award. But at least with Shrek, I can somewhat understand because it's like a legitimately really good movie. With Happy Feet, it's like, yeah, I don't really think a lot of the stuff actually works in it. I feel like Cars and Monster House are better movies, so I guess like maybe one of them should have won. But like at the same time, like I don't know, this like does not feel like a big like strong contender. None of these feel like strong contenders for best animated movie of the year. But at the same time, like I looked up other movies that came out that year, that being 2006, and yeah, it's not that strong if I'm being honest. I really like Curious George. That movie came out, so yeah, Curious George is very lovely. It's very cute. I like that movie a lot. So we'll say that Curious George is a better movie than Happy Feet and should have won best animated feature at the Oscars that year. So yeah. Then after that, the movies that won were mainly Pixar. But like I said before, these were the movies that I feel like it was when Pixar was at its best, at its peak. We got Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3. All those movies won Best Animated Feature in their respective year. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with it. But like, yeah, I will admit in the beginning, it did feel very diverse. Like you had like Shrek winning, and then you got Spirited Away, an international animated movie winning. Then you got, of course, two strong Pixar movies. Then Wallace and Gromit. You got like a stop motion film, and then Happy Feet. Okay, well maybe it wasn't perfect, but it did feel more diverse. But at the same time, I don't know if I can be too mad with all these Pixar movies winning, because these are some of the best Pixar movies out there. They are very good, and I do think a lot of these, especially Ratatouille, WALL-E, and Toy Story 3, were definitely worthy of winning the Best Animated Feature in their respective years. But then after Toy Story 3, the year after Toy Story 3, the movie that would end up winning the Best Animated Feature was Rango, and the other movies that were nominated were A Cat in Paris, Chico and Rita, Kung Fu Panda 2, and Puss in Boots, the first one for some reason. And yeah, there's no Disney or Pixar, so I guess they're just like their game wasn't that strong that year. But what about Rango itself? Is it a really good movie? Yeah, it is a fantastic movie. It is so interesting that a movie like Rango even exists. Like, it's sort of like a Happy Feet thing, but like instead of like what I said with Happy Feet, it was like, oh man, it's like bonkers and it's not very good, but like, hey, it does a lot of crazy stuff, and that's what makes it somewhat interesting. No, Rango is interesting because like it does a bunch of crazy stuff as well, but it's legitimately really good. And by a bunch of crazy stuff, I mean like the fact that like, all right, this is an animated Western movie with talking animals, but they don't look like the typical talking animals that you would see in like the cute and cuddly like animated movies. No, they look like somewhat like cartoony, but with like realistic textures. It's kind of hard to describe. You gotta see it for yourself, because I mean, it's hard for me to describe because I'm terrible at describing things, but like, trust me, it looks really interesting. And so like, but they don't try to make them look cute and cuddly. They look ugly. They go like, it looks very distinct, and like I said, very ugly, but it's oddly kind of beautiful. Like that's how I describe the visuals in Rango. It's so ugly that it's beautiful. And like, man, it's just like so interesting to look at just visually. It's like so it's like honestly just incredible. It's just like incredible to look at. And like you got like a bunch of these big like Oscar winner and nominated actors in the cast, but the way they did the vocal performances were not like oh hey, let's get them in the recording booth. No, they had them like act out the scenes, and then I guess they took that dialogue and put it in that, like no, they legit acted out the scenes like in a room and stuff, and they recorded that. That's how they recorded the voices for the movie. It is like, again, very weird, but it works with this movie so well. And what's the most bonkers thing about this is that it's made by Nickelodeon. Like the people who made SpongeBob, like the company that makes SpongeBob, they were like, yeah, let's do like this weird experimental like animated western with like this like with these like weird designs, and it worked out. They won the award, and it is legitimately really good, man. Like it's like I really love watching this movie. Like I think I watched as a kid thinking like it was alright, but like I just couldn't get behind everything. I was like, I don't love designs and I don't really think it's all that funny. But as I grow older and the more I watch it, the more I like legit respect the movie. Like I love more about it. Like I do think it's like legit more funnier than I remembered, and like I think the visuals, like honestly, like they fascinate me more. Like yeah, I guess I thought they were ugly back then, but like I was like, no, the ugliness is interesting. So yeah, I think this is a movie that just like I just had to learn to like love over time. Just had to like, I was like, oh hey, this is legitimately really good. I don't know what the younger me was thinking, but hey, that could be because like I was more into like the cute and cuddly stuff. I wasn't ready for so ugly that it's beautiful. But yeah, Rango has a legitimately really good story in there as well. It's got some good vocal performances in there. It's like some really interesting visuals, and again, it's made by the Nickelodeon movies, by the SpongeBob people. That is crazy. And yeah, look at that, they won. And but do I feel like Rango should have won? I don't know, it's kind of hard to say because Kung Fu Panda 2 also was nominated, and like I really love Kung Fu Panda 2. I love the Kung Fu Panda movies so much, so it's like my heart kind of goes like, oh, I don't know, both are really good. But I will say for now, Rango is a solid choice because Rango is a really good movie. I highly recommend it. And after that, it was just straight up Disney and Pixar for years. And like, don't get me wrong, I do think some of those movies were really good, but for a lot of those years, I feel like the competition was so strong. Like going back to a previous example that I said, in the year Big Hero 6 won, the competition was How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Tale of Princess Kaguya and the Lego Movie, but like that wasn't nominated, but it should have been because Lego Movie's so good. And I feel like those movies were so much more stronger, but they still gave it to Big Hero 6, and it definitely gave off the vibe of like they just did not care that much about the competition or animated movies in general, because even for like the Disney movies that did win, they weren't nominated for anything else. They didn't go like, oh hey, maybe like they're good enough for like other awards like best score, or some of them won best, like were like nominated for best original song, like Frozen I believe was, but that's kind of about it. And it just like they just gave off a vibe that they just did not care about animation. And I think it was because of that I actually stopped watching the Oscars, because like I've always loved animation. It's like my favorite medium of artwork ever. And then just seeing like this, like, you know, even though I was like growing to love film and everything, this medium, I could see that the Oscars did not care. And then that made me realize, I wonder what else they don't care about. And it just kind of led to this whole spiral. I was like, man, the Oscars kind of suck. Why am I even watching these? And then I just stopped. And I continued like not watching them for a long time. And I kind of did not really regret it. But there was one time this one movie won this specific award that it made me go, I kind of wish I watched that live. That movie was... What a note to end on. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the most recent win for like a non-Disney or Pixar movie, and it is phenomenal. The other movies that were nominated that year were Incredibles 2, I Love Dogs, Mariah, Ralph Breaks the Internet. And man, Spider-Man easily trumps everything that year. It is not only one of the best animated movies from the year it came out, it is easily one of the best animated movies from the decade, honestly, of recent memory. It is legit that good. And you can, even though it's not that old, you can already tell it's left such a big impact on the world of animation. So many movies have come out recently that have tried to like kind of emulate the style, but still make it their own. They've been influenced by it, saying like, oh my god, that's amazing. Can we do something like that? And they did, but they still made it their own thing. You see things like Intergalactic, Mitchell vs. Machines, the upcoming Ninja Turtles movie. It's just like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's just so incredible seeing the impact, but and not just like on a visual side, that this movie is amazing. This movie is also amazing because it has a really good story. Like, it's easily the best Spider-Man movie because it really does a good job, like, showing the story of, like, Miles learning how to become Spider-Man, or, like, learning that anyone can be Spider-Man. It's so good. And, like, I love everything about it. The comedy, the visuals. Oh my god, the visuals. Like, I keep going about the visuals because, like, the visuals are so good. And, like, I love it's just, like, so good. But I love the emotion to it all. It just, like, has a good story that just makes you go, oh my god, that is so amazing. Just, like, seeing Miles, like, grow, and then, like, you know, right, realizing that he can be Spider-Man, and he's like, it is so good. And man, just the fact that the best animated movie of the decade ended up being a comic book movie is so good. But one where they legitimately tried something new. This like big experimental stuff here, and it absolutely paid off. And the fact that the Sony Pictures Animation movie that they did prior, before, was the movie that came out prior was the Emoji Movie. So that's a redemption arc right there. But like, yeah, like I could go on and on about why Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is such a great movie, and one day I will, but everyone already knows what it is. So I'm still gonna do it one day. I might make a video talking about how great the movie is to go more in detail with it. But everyone knows that it's a phenomenal movie. It is legit so good. And like, I'm just getting emotional just thinking about it because like, I remember when I first watched it, I thought, oh my god, this is so amazing. Like, I easily thought it was the best Spider-Man movie when I watched it. But then as time went on, I was like, oh my god, this is easily one of the greatest like modern day animated movies. And then like suddenly just one day I made the realization that like, I think this might be my favorite animated movie of all time. Like, it legit might be. I might still need to think about it a bit more because it is still kind of like bonkers to like believe that like, oh, this new thing that just came out, you know, it made it up there in my mind, so close to like other movies that like, you know, like, oh, were always dear and near to my heart, like the Kung Fu Panda movies or the Incredibles or like any Pixar movie. But like, yeah, this Spider-Man came in swinging, going like, hey, you love me, right? Like, yeah, I do love you. I think I love you a lot. And like, yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came in swinging, making me think that like, hey, I think this, I do really think this might be my favorite animated movie of all time. And it's a pretty recent one. But hey, I guess that's a good sign. It's showing that good animated movies, really good ones, still come out. And it looks like they're going to continue coming out because it's a fact. It's still going on right now. And I'm so excited to see what the future of animation is going to look like now that we got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in our lives. And I'm very excited for that sequel. I really hope it's good. Now here we are in present day. It's been like about like a week since the 95th Academy Awards, and I think in the video I said like I might watch it. I did end up watching it. It was my first time watching the award show in like years, and honestly, I'm a pretty good way to come back, honestly. Like, you know, I was worried that it was gonna be like bad like I remembered it, but honestly this award show was pretty good. I agree with a lot of the movies that have won. I thought, okay, that's truly deserving. I did not really like Jimmy Fallon or Kimmel, which one was it? I don't know my Jimmys, like which one was hosting, but like it was one of them, and I didn't really like him, honestly. His jokes weren't all that funny to me, but there was a lot of good stuff in there, and yeah, pretty solid award show this year. But anyway, the movie that won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars this year was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. The other movies that were nominated were The Sea Beast, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Turning Red, and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And like I said in my favorite stuff of 2022 video, Pinocchio, this movie, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, was my favorite animated movie of the year. And like, yeah, I still agree with that. It's like, it's such a beautiful movie. Like, the stop motion animation is so amazing. Like, I love the designs of everything, and the way everything moves is just so good. And I really love its story of like having like a new take on the story of Pinocchio, but during like fascist Italy. And it's like such a really interesting like way of telling the story. And like the emotion of it is just so good. And man, I just love a lot of things about it, man. And it's like, what I also love is just that Guillermo del Toro, you know, having you could really tell like him and like the people working on this, we just have a mad respect for animation, especially in like his speech. He kept saying like, hey, it's cinema, like animation is cinema, and we're ready to take it to the next level. That's what he said, his words, I believe. And honestly, man, that's just like, honestly, I think that's a big reason why I love this movie so much, because I know there was so much heart put behind it, because the people working on this movie truly know that animation is cinema, and the Oscars may not see it, but maybe they will one day. That is a really like not likely maybe, but you know, people can have hope. But anyway, yeah, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was so amazing. So yeah, and I'm really happy that this one. I would have been totally fine if something like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or even Marcel the Shell, which I haven't seen, but like I did hear a lot of good stuff about it, or even Turning Red, because I did like Turning Red a lot. I would have been fine if one of those movies won, but like but my heart is so happy that what ended up being my favorite movie, like my favorite animated movie of 2022, did win. So yeah, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was truly amazing. Now I've officially talked about all seven non-Disney or Pixar movies that have won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. And this was a really fun topic to discuss, honestly. I had a really fun time making this video when I was doing it. And while I am sad I wasn't able to get it out in time, I'm just happy that I'm going to be able to get it out, because I definitely didn't want to trash it, even if like it became like outdated after that award show, which honestly, I'm happy that it became outdated, because I was like, oh yay, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won. I was just like, yeah, that means a little bit of extra work here, but doesn't matter. It wasn't even that extra. I don't know why I'm complaining. The point is, I was happy about that. And yeah, just doing this video overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. Even going back to watch these movies again, that it's something that I hadn't seen for a super long time, was just really, really fun. And even Happy Feet, yes, even Happy Feet. I don't know if I'd call that movie good, but it was definitely somewhat enjoyable watching that. Yeah, so this was just really fun to do. Hey, maybe I could even do something like this, but for like all the movies that have won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Maybe even like all the ones that were nominated too. Would you guys like to see that? But just let me know in the comments. But regardless, I think this video was really, really fun to do. And I guess like I really hope like things start to look up for animation in the industry and the Academy Awards in the future. Like, I don't want you guys to think that this whole thing was me saying I don't want Disney to ever win at the Oscars. That's definitely not the case. Some of the movies I truly think were deserving of winning Best Animated Feature. But I think what I want is for the Academy Awards to treat the animation world with more respect and look at all the nominees. Look at every movie that should be worthy of a nomination. Like, just watch every animated movie. I know that's not possible, but at least as many as possible, to truly look into them. Because yeah, while Disney and Pixar still make great animated movies can come from anyone, honestly. DreamWorks, Aardman, Studio Ghibli, hey, maybe even one day Illumination. I mean, probably the Mario movie's looking really good, like from what we've seen so far. I really, really hope that's good. But regardless, yeah, I just hope things will turn out well for animation at the Oscars. Will it? It's really hard to say. It's kind of seeming like no, but hey, with like the animation movie industry looking different now, because we're seeing a lot more experimentation from stuff like Spider-Verse, Mitchell's vs. Machines, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. We could be seeing a whole new era of animated movies. So who knows? Maybe that could also show with with the movies that are nominated at the Oscars. But hey, we'll just have to wait and see.